Hello, YouTube. Hello, TikTok. All right, we're going to go live on Instagram now. I'm going to talk about identity. Hello, hello. I am talking about identity, subconscious identity today, how to attract anything and anyone, any experience into your life. This isn't going to be some fluffy manifestation ritual or, affirmations that you can use, although those things are definitely important and those things are a part of the energetics. But what I really wanted to go into deep today was actually speaking about what it means to reshape your identity, your self concept. So, the way that you see yourself, the way that you perceive yourself, the way that you see yourself in the world is everything. It changes everything, it creates everything that you desire. And in phase 2 of my Woman Mastery methodology, the entire phase is around being able to rewire and shift your identity to actually attract the things that you desire and to see yourself in the way that you want. And certain signs come up in your life, or certain ways to identify when your identity isn't in alignment with you, when your subconscious identity is actually working against you. And this is what I see with a lot of high achieving women that I coach, that I mentor, that I work with, that come into my containers, is I see that they are working so hard towards a certain goal or a certain aspect, or to be a better mother, to be a better sister, to be a better friend, to be a better partner, wife, whatever it is. And I see them working up against themselves, because high achievers, we love to do things to create a certain form of success. And success is defined in whichever way you want to define it. And this is what I said to my clients. So it's not up for me to define what success is. It's up to you. That's the first thing. But what I see with so many high achievers is they're actually grinding. It's like they're forever climbing the summit because they can't quite align or match up with the person that they want to be, or see themselves in the way they want to be. And so, like, definitely let me know if this is something that resonates, if you feel that you've been trying to be different, experience life different, have different experiences, maybe attract more money, attract better relationships, have your business take off in a different way, get promoted if you work a 9 to 5 job, finances, whatever it may be. Doing the inner work isn't enough sometimes. And I mean that in the sense of all of this is inner work. But if you were just doing the inner work, such as the journaling, the affirmations, maybe you're consuming things like lives, podcasts, whatever it is. But the true work lies in understanding the root cause of why your subconscious identity is where it currently is. Most of the time, what I see with this type of inner work, and what I see taught. So I have a very different approach with all of my clients. And like I said, this is phase 2 of my woman mastery methodology. But what I do, the approach that I take with my clients is you have to actually understand the root, the foundation of where you are, like understand yourself right now in its current form, in your current form, in the way that you behave, in the exact things that trigger you, in your behaviors, everyday behaviors, your patterns, your habits, things you like, you dislike. And then that's when we give ourselves a chance to actually bring up, just like a tree root or a flower root. If it's dying, you actually want to pull out that entire root. But what I see taught most of the time is trying to cover that up. So instead of getting to the root and taking out the flower, what I would see is someone try, if we use a flower analogy, someone would try and plant a new flower on top of the dying one. And so because those roots are still there, it may intertwine. Again, I don't know things that happen with plants and flowers, but just stick with this analogy. If you were just planting a brand new flower on top of this dying flower, what might happen is over time, the roots of the dying flower start to intertwine with the brand new flower, and then it starts to die. It starts to take on the roots and the growth, the life, the cells of this dying flower. This is exactly what I see get taught time and time again, is instead of getting to the root, taking it out by understanding yourself, which we'll go into in a second. I'm going to share with you a framework that I use, is most people just cover it up. Most people, most high achievers work harder. They maybe change their environment, or they try to change their morning routine, and they try out affirm, they try to out journal, or they try to out manifest by doing the subliminals, by doing the EFT tapping. In saying that, there are certain ways to do EFT tapping which actually fully covers the root first and then taps into the new thing. A lot of the tapping that I see on, say, Instagram Reels is just tapping in affirmations. It doesn't work. You can tap in, I am rich, I'm a millionaire, I'm worthy a million times, but unless you are taking out and pinpointing exactly what has caused that feeling, which I'll go into in a moment, then nothing's going to change. And this is all inspired, this whole conversation, this whole mini training, I guess, is inspired. I have a brand new container, 4 weeks. It's called Identity Evolution. It's all in my stories. It's in my latest post. We do this. I work with you in 4 group calls to actually get to the root of why you cannot change, or why you feel you cannot see yourself differently, why you aren't seeing and behaving differently, even though it feels like you're doing all the things, but you're still getting triggered every time your partner makes a comment, or you're still manifesting more money, but equally manifesting a bill of the exact same amount. Maybe you feel misunderstood in your relationships. Maybe you're stopping yourself from doing things in this lifetime because you're so scared about what your family is going to think, even though you're watching this and you're resonating with this because you're success driven. You're a high achiever. You want great things in life. You want to live a wealthy, successful, fulfilling life filled with opportunities, but you always feel like you're on this hamster wheel unless you are actually subconsciously getting to the root of who you are and why you do what you are. So I'm going to be teaching this in Identity Evolution. If you want to know the details, send me a DM. Otherwise, it's in my bio, it's in my post, it's in my Instagram story. But I want to teach you something that I will be going into depth when it comes to this containers, a concept, a framework that I might share a couple of frameworks, but this one is actually one that I have a lot of my coaching friends, even my therapist friends, they have actually taken this framework and they share it with their clients. And it's something that I've been using for the past couple of years. It's called the Upside Down Why Identity Framework. So exactly as it sounds, imagine an upside down why. And the way that it works to understand your identity, upside down why, again, imagine that. If you can, draw it out right now. But you just want to put your old identity, your new identity, and then your in-between identity. So again, just imagining an upside down Y, old, new, in-between. Stick with me. Now, why is this so important? Because like what I just said at the start, most people go from their old and they try to shift straight over to their new identity. They try to just cover up their behaviors, try to do better, try to work harder. It's like if you feel that you aren't seeing the results in your online business that you thought you would by now, I can guarantee, I can have a conversation with you. First 10 minutes, I can guarantee I will pinpoint exactly what your subconscious beliefs are. And then from there, what the root of your subconscious identity. This is what I do with my clients. Did it with a new client this week. She was saying one thing, she was doing one thing, and she was like, but I'm doing this. I'm saying this. I've had a good routine. She's seen success. She's seen success over the past few years in her relationships, with her money, with her business. But she was like, I just don't know why I keep hitting this ceiling. Why do I keep hitting this ceiling, even though I'm doing the right things? I've been there. I'm sure that if you're watching this and you're a high achiever, you have been there. And this is what it is, because most people teach to cover up that old identity. But unfortunately, it takes a little bit more than that. I wish it was that easy, or else, everyone would probably be a changed person and changing their self-concept just like that. It doesn't have to take a long, long time, but it does take patience with yourself. It does take a level of self-trust, a level of self-leadership to be able to step in to that identity. And that's why I have 3 phases of the Woman Mastery methodology. But like I said, this is phase 2 that I'm teaching as we go into this framework and beyond. But I will be taking into identity evolution. You get to ask me any questions around identity shifting, self-concept, different levels of consciousness, the emotional matrix, which is learning how to neutralize your triggers, learning how to neutralize your emotions. Do you feel like you are up and down with your emotions, or you feel like you're riding this roller coaster? Or maybe you have a really good month in business, and then the next month on that, you have a low month, and then all of a sudden you're not neutral with your emotions, you're up and down. Or maybe something happens in your relationships. One month you're really, really good, and the next you just feel like either the roller coaster analogy I use or the pendulum swing. And this is what I'll be going through in identity evolution. But back to the framework. So again, imagine if you have the upside down framework. If you're watching this, and you can definitely draw it out. If you're watching the replay, pause it, draw it out. but need to understand that everything you're doing just needs a few tweaks. Just needs a few tweaks to understand what's happening underneath. And this is why we have this section here, which is called the in-between identity. So again, upside down right, old, new, in-between identity. The in-between identity is exactly where I see clients where they're trying to change, because the in-between identity actually takes behaviors and patterns and traits and responses and motives from both the old identity and the new identity. This is why sometimes it can feel like you're taking 10 steps forward and then 20 steps back. And it always feels, maybe I see on average with high achievers, every around ish 21 days, I see them repeat the same cycles. They come to me, they explain what's happening, business, life, relationship, money, whatever it is. And it's like a 21-day cycle where they're so much progress. I've got all this momentum. And then all of a sudden, it's like within a week, they're self-sabotaging, they're getting triggered, they are not being able to, they feel confused at how to move forward. And so what do? We work harder, we push harder, we grind more, we consume more, we don't integrate. That's one of the biggest issues I see with high achieving women, is they don't integrate. And so in the in-between identity, what you start to see is that you have taken traits and you are living in traits with both your old identity and both your new identity. You're trying to simultaneously operate as a new person, but you still have an energetic frequency and vibration of your old identity. You still have patterns and behaviors of your old identity. And that's why it's always stop start, or that's why it feels like you're on this emotional roller coaster all the time. And so when you try to perceive yourself differently, and the saying, fake it till you make it, there's a degree, right? I don't disagree with it in its entirety. But what I do disagree with is most people try to do that, fake it till you make it. But if you're in this in-between identity, which is most high achieving women, you'll never actually fully change. You could go a while, but then have you ever noticed that if you do a reflection, let's say this time last year or 6 months ago, there's probably certain aspects of you've been trying to change and you feel like you're putting in the work, but it looks exactly the same. And this is really where I started to conceptualize this framework, because I noticed there would be certain points of the year I would reflect back on, or I would see a memory pop up on my Facebook or my Instagram archive. And I'm like, that hasn't changed in the past year. Why am I still thinking like that? Or why am I still attracting these same relationships? Or why am I still attracting these money issues, or whatever it may be? And that's exactly what it is. That's the subconscious. You are only as successful as your weakest, your most limiting subconscious belief and identity. And when you understand that, that's when you can start to work through it. And so being at this stop start, it's not that you're doing anything particularly wrong. It's just that you're focusing your time and energy on trying to do things that aren't really fixing the root of the problem. And so looking at your in between, oh, I love this question. Can you please share how you started with your business journey, purpose, and when did you start shifting your identity? Incredible question. I'm going to go into that. That's great. Let me just screenshot as well. So understanding this, and we're going to go into this question because I think it feeds into something great to understand identity shifting. But one thing I started to notice when I was conceptualizing this is we are the sum of everything that we've already lived in the past 90 days, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And if you aren't understanding why you are responding, most people actually don't want to get to know themselves. And this is what the framework, this is what the program, identity evolution, actually truly goes into. And so let me go into this question because I think it's a perfect example of what I actually had to shift when I started my business and to build and scale this current business, but also keeping in mind that I've had many evolutions. That's why the program is called Identity Evolution. It's not at the end of 4 weeks you change who you are and that's it. They are tools and concepts and things that I am teaching you and mentoring you on that I want you to use the next time that you're like, hang on, why am I shifting? Why am I up leveling? That's how I create everything is timeless, because we want long-term wins in the world of JB. We're not here for short-term gratification. And I had to learn that the hard way. So when I first started my business, quick backstory. I quit my job in 2019 and I moved to Bali and I started my business. Now, that sounds all fun, all great. And when I say this, if I'm meeting someone brand new and I'm not really going into it like this, it sounds like a really, really exciting thing, which it is. But it also took a lot of this identity shifting. And this is what actually conceptualized everything that I teach on subconscious identity shifting. I had to completely perceive myself as someone different. And I don't just mean I had to wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm a business owner now and I live in Bali and all of that. That's really that fake it till you make it kind of energy that works to a degree. But I actually had to understand, if we get up this framework again, and like everyone watching across, and for everyone who doesn't know, I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok, I've got YouTube live going, but everyone watching, thank you so much, number one. Number two, please go away and do this. You need to write out your old behaviors. So right now, what you perceive as behaviors that are your old self. So the way that I would gauge this, and this is what I had to do. The way that I would gauge old behaviors is, if I am continuing to do these behaviors, they will result in the same reactions and results and behaviors as I have the past 90 days. That's how I gauge it. New identity, new behaviors in the new section are things that you are not yet doing. That's why they are brand new. And then in the in between are the things, of course, we're taking from the old, and we are taking a little bit from the new, but they're the things we start to dabble in. So let me give you an example from the start of my business. I had a membership at the start of my business, which, stay tuned, by the way, for 2025. But I wanted to start this membership. And I was doing my group coaching, I was doing my one-on-one in the first couple of years of my business. And I had this idea. I had this idea actually in 2018 for this type of membership. And I was thinking about it in the first year. I was like, I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, that's something I kept thinking about it. And I would create content that wouldn't specifically talk about it, but I would put out, the modules and things. I would also, do some things on Canva. I would write about it in my journal. I would write about it in my business development. And then I didn't action it for like a year and a half, maybe a year. No, a year and a half. That's a long time, right? That's what I call the in-between identity. Because guess what? I was getting a dopamine hit every single time. I was getting a dopamine hit every single time I would journal about it or do some business development on it, or anytime I'd be like, I would teach this module in the membership, so I'm going to write a post about it, or I'm going to go do a live about it. But I wouldn't quite get there. And this is where most high-achieving women stay. They look for the dopamine hits. This links to directly what I just said is, in my world, when you come and work with me, I don't care for dopamine hits. I don't care for quick wins. They're great. They give you a good feeling. But we are here for a long-term vision. As high-achieving women, we're here to live an above-average life, aren't we? And so we want to have a long-term vision. And so when you are looking at your in-between factors, identities, behaviors, patterns, these are really the things that, beyond that, you need to understand is a bit of reverse engineering and inside identity evolution. I kind of wish sometimes I could screen share here on live so I could show you, but we actually go through a process I call the emotional matrix. And what this teaches you is where these fears, because every time you stop yourself and you're in the in-between, it's actually connected to a fear. A fear on the emotional matrix is connected to a past resentment. So a past memory that your brain has reserved and stored as a resentment. Now, in your future imagination, where you currently are or what you perceive is happening, that is now projecting as a fear. On the other side of that, because of law of polarity, with a coin, you have two sides, is fantasy. So have you ever put someone on a pedestal? Have you ever been infatuated with someone? Or have you ever met someone and thought, oh, they're the best thing in the world? Or like pedestal, fantasy land. Again, not neutral. Our aim is to get to the neutral ground. And this is what we're teaching in identity evolution. So, this container and my teachings is much more than, okay, here's some self-concept affirmations and like, we're going to speak about like how to dress differently. That's surface level bullshit. We're not here for this. It's about understanding that this fear that I currently have, if we talk about my business in this example, What were the fears that I had to start that membership? But where did that fear come from my past memory? What resentment am I holding in my body? So for the Woman Mastery methodology, 3 phases: 1, subconscious reprogramming; 2, identity shifting; and 3, nervous system regulating, or regulating to a new capacity. And so I had to fully understand the fears that were driving my behaviors of getting these dopamine hits. And so it's an ever evolving thing. Coming back to the question, shifting your identity has to be something you're self-reflecting on all of the time. And by all of the time, quite literally daily. I don't mean that you need to do like a 2-hour journaling session, because we're busy women. We don't have time for that. But when you are doing your skincare at night, or you're in the shower at night, or you're laying in bed just before your nightly meditation, you need to ask yourself, what was the sum of my day? Did it look exactly the same? Did I move the needle, or am I on autopilot? Most high achievers are actually on autopilot. They achieve great things. They get great success in their business. This is the women I work with. They come to me and I'm like, you're already fucking successful. You're doing great, but you're not feeling fulfilled because you're at this ceiling. And so I think when you understand this, and I'm going to give you all a little bit more joining live, right? I wasn't going to share this because it's part of identity evolution, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a taster. The next thing to understanding your identity, and what I had to, is understanding your values. And I don't mean I value trust and I value compassion and empathy. Again, surface level, so boring. When you understand your values ladder, you understand what trickles down into a macro and micro value, you understand your identity. Everyone wants to search for their purpose, and they do that through their identity, right? Every day you're living your purpose, because every day you are actually in alignment with the identity that is reflecting your current values, your current top values. And then I'll hear people say, no. I want to save money though. I want to save for that house, or like I want to build wealth, or I want to do this. And they spend their money, or they're doing this with their friends, or this is just an example, or they do XYZ. It's like, no, that is your purpose, that is your value, that is how you are identifying with yourself, that's how you perceive yourself in this world right now, and that's okay. This is the beauty of it though, the evolution. And this is what I teach in identity evolution, is like, you evolve into the identity that you desire whenever you choose, but you have to understand how it all stacks up. And I think that part of, becoming a business owner for me was such an identity shift that I had to learn how to integrate better. Now, with my concepts and my frameworks, I understand it a lot better. But what people miss or get shy from, because it takes time, is integrating the things that are actually making a full body shift. So I just want to go back to the fears thing, because that's really like the root. When I explained at the start of this that it's like a dead flower, and if you don't want to kill any of your other flowers, you need to actually pull it out at the root. It's not good enough. Most people will do this, is the inner development work. Most people will go, well, I have a fear that someone's going to judge me. And so I do want to start a business. I'm just using this example because I've been there, the fear of judgment. But I was like, yeah, I have a fear of judgment. Like, I've just got to push through. That's what a lot of people do. I just got to push through. Yes, to a degree, but mainly not. What you actually have to understand is that fear of judgment, where did it come from? A past memory. What is that past memory? And there may be several. And like I said, in identity evolution, I actually show you my whole diagram, because there's a whole lot to this. I love it. It's like in my top 3 favorite concepts, along with my upside down Y framework. It's just insane. But understanding, you don't want to start a business. If we reverse engineer, you want to start a business, but you're not starting a business because you have a fear of judgment. That's where most people stop. Okay. And when they stop, every day they play into this. I really want to start a business. I'm not going to, because my friends and family are going to judge me. I'm not going to do anything. Or the dopamine hit effect. Or I'm going to, write about it in my journal. I'm going to do some things on Canva, or I'm going to, maybe part of that is starting a podcast, which I've seen. And I'll record an episode, but I won't post it yet because it's not perfect. Or I'll speak to my friends that I want to start a business, or I'll speak to my partner that I want to start a business. And then nothing. You get the dopamine hit. You're like, yes, most people stay in this cycle, old identity. But you need to get to the fear of judgment. Where did that actually, what's the most prominent memory right now? It could have happened 90 days ago. It could have happened 15 years ago. I have a client. She's in her 40s. We had a session and we were talking and we're working through something similar with this in the next phase of my woman mastery methodology. And she remembered something from when she was 16. And we were on Zoom and I remember her face just stopped. And she was like, she started crying. I've got goosebumps. You can't say I've got goosebumps speaking about this because it was quite incredible. She's in her 40s. I think she's 44, 16. And she's like, and just because you remember memories that are resentments, it doesn't have to be traumatic, right? Some are going to be traumatic, whatever you believe is traumatic, but it can be as simple. This happened to me where someone in high school bullied me, but it was just one sentence they said to me, right? It wasn't like a repetition of bullying every single day. So I just want to put that out there. She remembered this. And when she remembered that, she was able to get to the past memory and understand why she had a resentment against people, against what has now created this fear of judgment. And so for her, it wasn't actually, I have a fear of what my parents are going to say about me. Going with the example, it wasn't a fear of what my parents are going to say about me. It's actually a fear that I'm going to repeat or do something that's going to trigger someone to say X, Y, Z. So to reverse engineer that, because I kind of went into like a client story and then went back to the example. You want to start a business, for an example. You're afraid of what people are going to say. But every day you're talking about it, you're working in Canva, you're writing in your journal, dopamine hit, but then that fear comes up again. So you procrastinate, you get triggered, you have negative self-talk, and so you don't start the business. And you repeat that. But what you need to understand is, where did I first pick up a fear of judgment? Where is the past memory? And go deep. Go deep to the first time you can remember. It's not going to be the only memory. Let me tell you that. The emotional matrix teaches you to go through many, 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 many stages. And then when you understand that, you then get to understand yourself better. Everything I do in all of my containers, it doesn't matter what you're working on me with, whether it's group, one-on-one, doesn't matter. I teach you how to reconnect back to yourself and have a relationship with yourself. Too many women want success, but they don't have a relationship with themselves. And that's why many women feel like they're not living in purpose, feel like they're unfulfilled. And so when you understand what my body and my mind did in that moment, that someone judged me, going for the example, I can then understand how this is formed as a resentment. And my body has now held on to this resentment. And anytime I want to make an Instagram for a brand new business, your body subconsciously remembers that. But because we are trying to be logical beings with our conscious mind, we will grasp at something logical. And so we cover it with saying, well, I have a fear that my mom's going to say something. No, you actually have resentment of what that kid said to you when you were 15 years old, when you went to school with a different haircut. And that's been stored in your mind, your subconscious mind, and your body. So many people walk around with these emotional charges. This is from the emotional matrix. What I call those are emotional charges. That's why they're triggered. That's why they are stuck swinging on the pendulum or the emotional roller coaster, whatever resonates. Exactly the same concept. This is why so many people will stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. It's why so many high achievers have such great ambitions. This is where I was. I was talking about wanting to start my business for like 2.5 years, like properly, before I started it. I was in the dopamine effect, right? That mindset, the quick win mindset. But I didn't understand that the fears behind that, the fears of shifting who I was. I went through a huge, huge identity shift this year, something that I will probably speak about in depth and exactly what happened and what I did inside of the container. But it was huge. It was to do with my relationships. And it was really, there was a few months in this year where it was really, really hard. Like identity shifting is hard, but it's possible when you understand exactly where you're building up emotional charges. And so coming back to what I said at the start of this, so many people think that, okay, I'm just going to dress differently. And this is what I used to think. I'm going to dress differently. I'm going to do my hair differently. I'm going to just like speak differently. I'll walk differently. On a physiological sense, those things help. Because if you're trying to become someone new, but you're dressing like, I don't know, like a hobo, like whatever, like you're not dressing like you would. Like if you see yourself as a successful businesswoman and your thing is like dressing in nice blazers, but every day you're waking up and you're just like wearing oversized t-shirts, of course there's not going to be like a physiological change there at all. So yes, I just want to say, because I've had this question before, of course it helps 110%. But the biggest thing that's going to help you is understanding the in between of your identity, and then understanding the emotional charges of that, working through that and creating a seamless change into your new identity and actually integrating that. So even though Identity Evolution, the 4-week program that starts in a couple of weeks, and anyone watching this, if you are resonating with this, I highly, highly recommend you get into that. It's on my stories. You can send me a DM. It is going, I'm so excited. You can obviously tell, like I've been speaking for 30 minutes now. It's something I'm so passionate about because I see so many high achieving women. They're just hitting ceilings and they're doing all the right things, but it's really that they don't understand themselves. They don't understand the resentments that they have. They don't understand really where they stand with themselves and why they perceive themselves like this when they want to perceive themselves like this. So I highly recommend getting into that. But something that I will be working through and showing you is also the other 2 phases of the woman mastery methodology. So like I said, phase 1 is subconscious reprogramming your belief systems, what you truly believe about yourself in the world. And then phase 2, it's mainly around phase 2 identity shifting. And then phase 3, regulating to a new capacity, because you can do, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, you can do all the belief work, you can do the identity work, but I teach you how to integrate. A lot of people don't actually make a change, a sustainable change, I should say, and maintain that. And this is where women get a big fear that, oh my God, like if I invest in this, if I do this, like what if I can't maintain it? That just tells me you don't know how to properly integrate it into your 3D physical reality, but also somatically. Yes, part of that, breath work, meditation, all of that, yada, yada, yada. Yes, it helps. I meditate every single day, so I'm not like pushing it away. Meditate twice a day at least. What I'm saying somatically is, do you actually feel safe in your body? Like what actually happens? You tell me you want to have a $20,000 month. You tell me that you want to attract the love of your life. You tell me that you want to attract new friends or lose 5 kilos. What actually happens in your body when you say that? And that's part of the integration, is how do I introduce this and integrate this into my everyday life, into the way that I'm being every single day. And so that's going to be part of all of it to help understand and integrate. But overall, what I will say with this is understanding that changing your identity does take time to attract what you want. But if we talk on an energetic, and there's going to be a lot of strategy and energetics when it comes to this container, identity evolution. But the biggest thing that I want you to start to think about is, what am I doing right now that I was doing 90 days ago that's breeding the exact same results? And in asking yourself that question will give you an answer to reflect and start to understand yourself better. A lot of women want to do the work, but they don't want to understand themselves better. And I used to be one of them. I say this with so much love. I used to be one of them where I didn't want to understand. I just wanted the change. I wanted just to have it happen. But part of that is really truly understanding like where you're at right now, why you are doing, like why do you react like that? Why do you have conversations like that? Why are your motives like that? Why are your responses? Why are your behaviors? Have you been on autopilot the past 90 days, whatever it is? So I'm going to leave you with that. If there are any questions just before I log off, let me know now. Or else Instagram, you can send me a DM, link in bio on my stories, Identity Evolution. If you want to start a little bit smaller, highly recommend getting into the Reset audio program as well. But if you want some mentorship, definitely that. TikTok, the same link in bio. YouTube, it will be in the show notes below to join Identity Evolution. I'm super, super excited about this container. I'm so excited to share my concepts and my frameworks and the way that I have been teaching my clients over the past 5 years, nearly 6 years, to do this, the way I integrate it myself. And, I think that a lot of industry leaders are teaching just to have monetary wins. This will give you monetary wins, but it also teaches you to have a relationship with yourself, to trust yourself, to bring in better, deeper relationships, because being a human being, we want connection, right? And this will teach you how to actually get to a place in life where things feel like they're falling apart, but you have so much tenacity, you have so much resilience that you know how to shift through that. You know how to call yourself out on your own bullshit and take self responsibility for the part you're playing in your own suffering. So I'm super, super excited about this container. I hope that you have also gotten something from this training, and I will see you guys in the container and see you tomorrow for live. Bye.